Google's ecosystem is different from Apple and Samsung. You see, they both have a laptop and a phone in the center with a walled garden to keep you in. Sure, Google has laptops and phones, but the center of the Google ecosystem is software. YouTube, Gmail, Google TV, Gemini, Google Home, the list goes on and on. So this gives the Google ecosystem some unique advantages. For one, it's much more flexible than Apple and Samsung, but ultimately, is it worth being in the Google ecosystem? To answer this, I went as deep as I could. I've been using the Google ecosystem for years, but for the past month, I went all out. So let's start off with the devices on you, the phones and the wearables. The lineup starts off with the budget-friendly Google Pixel 8a, selling for $399. It's already typically my top recommendation for Android mid-range phone buyers. Great camera performance, overall a really nice Pixel experience. Then going up to the Pixel 9, you add an ultra-wide lens, a better display, and a more powerful Tensor G4 chip on here, the same as the other flagship phones. It's $650 though. The Pixel 9 Pro brings things up to a flagship level with two different sizes, and the main difference here is the addition of the incredible 5x telephoto lens. And you also get a more pro aesthetic on here. The price is $850, and I would say the main difference is going to be that 5x lens. In my opinion, definitely worth it though. It takes some incredible photos. And the fourth and final phone in this lineup is the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. My personal phone that I use on a daily basis. It's the most premium experience with the folding display, but with a compromise in the cameras. You see, we have all three zooms, ultra wide, primary, and telephoto, but the sensors are a little bit inferior to the other Pro phones. Regardless, it doesn't stop me from making this my everyday phone, and the unfolded experience meshes the classic Pixel UI from the other phones with a nice tablet experience as well, making it both enjoyable and productive. But it's not cheap. It starts at $1,500. That's the phone lineup. The whole lineup looks consistent and yet distinct from other phones. I love the camera bar across the back because it never wobbles when you set it on a table. They have fantastic camera performance no matter which camera you get, with great photo features like Add Me and Magic Eraser, and with a clean user interface. Google also adds smart features like Hold for Me, Now Playing, and Call Screening, and basically just act like a personal assistant. Calendar reminders show up on your lock screen. Gemini can summarize your email inbox with one command. The phones are not the real core of the ecosystem, and you could easily live in the Google ecosystem with a OnePlus or a Samsung phone, but I find the Pixel phones to be among the most recommendable Android phones out there. Then moving on to wearables. Apple and Samsung focus a ton of energy on this category, but Google, they were late to the game. Nonetheless, they have two main offerings. One is pretty great, and the other one is not one I really recommend all that often. Starting off with the Pixel Watch 3. This can do a lot of Google ecosystem things. You can control your Google TV, you can answer your doorbell and talk back through your watch, you can check out your Nest cameras on here, you can unlock your phone and potentially even some other locks someday with ultra wideband, and the Google Assistant is at the core of your watch. And with all your Google accounts synced, the watch is much more usable than many other watches that require touches to really control the entire interface. There's also, of course, health and fitness data syncing with Fitbit, which is now owned by Google and definitely a part of this ecosystem. Overall, the Google Pixel Watch 3 is a fantastic watch for Android users. The aesthetic matches all the phones, the UI feels very Pixel, and much like the phones, it's very usable from a high level with simplified information that makes your life easier, or you can go deep and customize and dig into your exact health details. The ecosystem with the watch feels very real when you're using it. So is it worth it to get the watch if you're in the Google ecosystem? I would say definitely yes. The other wearable offered by Google are the earbuds, the Pixel Buds Pro 2. These are definitely decent earbuds, and Google tried to make them a part of the ecosystem by integrating the earbud settings with your phone settings app. That's okay. You can also find the earbuds with the Find My Device app, and you can use Gemini in real time through your earbuds, although I rarely find this particularly helpful. Otherwise, they're a solid pair of earbuds, perhaps not the best in any particular category, and if you're investing in the Google ecosystem, I'd recommend trying other earbuds. I don't think it's really necessary that you get the Pixel Buds if you're in the Google ecosystem. Of course, you could also consider the Pixel Buds A more affordable option that you could save more money on, but again, that's also a very competitive space, and there may also be other more comfortable and feature-rich earbuds at that price point as well. So the devices with you are very powerful and very consistent in their aesthetic and overall in their design and their UI and ultimately their motive as well, making your life a little bit easier. Not something that can give you a lot of features. They're definitely there if you want them, but it's really meant to do the tasks for you and kind of get out of the way. Now, moving on to the home devices. This is arguably the biggest hardware side of the ecosystem. These are all managed in the Google Home app, and that can be controlled from a variety of Google or non-Google devices, such as even the iPhone. This app has a lot, from automations to quick device controls to the ability to add a ton of different devices, including a lot of third-party devices. And Matter, for example, is a fairly new protocol that's used by a lot of newer smart home devices, and it works with something like the Google Nest Hub 2nd Gen that can act as your central hub so you don't have a hub for every single product in your house. This can connect to third-party devices like this lock, for example. The lock I'm using to demonstrate this, and I'll show you how it works in the Google ecosystem, is actually the sponsor of today's video. This is the Level Lock Plus. It's a new, compact, and honestly pretty sleek smart lock that fits nicely in any ecosystem, and clearly the Google Home ecosystem as well. So this lock looks and acts like a normal deadbolt. There's even a key if you wanted to use it that way. You could unlock it with NFC. There's little tags that come in the box. You could unlock it from your phone and use Bluetooth as well to unlock, or it could be a part of Google ecosystem automations. So in the Google Home app, if you go down to the automations tab, you can set up a lot of different automations throughout the day, when you leave, when you go to bed, based on a lot of different triggers. And my personal favorite reason for having a smart lock, you might say, like, why would you ever need a smart lock? A key might be as easy for you as a phone. Maybe not, but maybe it is. But for me, I personally like checking the Home app. Like, if I go on a road trip, I inevitably will start doubting myself 30 minutes into the trip and wonder, did I lock the front door? And rather than just either driving back or waiting until I get home, I could check the phone and see that I did in fact lock it. And if I didn't, I could lock it from my phone. And because the Google ecosystem works well with devices like this, you have a lot of flexibility. And for example, the Level Lock has many different aesthetics that can match your own home. The Matter over Thread platform is used, and the lock is 62% smaller than other smart locks. It's also easy to install. You can install it in a couple minutes. And with something like the Nest Hub Gen 2, for example, it's really easy to set this up. The only thing I would recommend is, one, you want to make sure you do have a compatible door. So I'll have a link down in the description below. If you want to check out this lock, check out the requirements for your door, and also definitely make sure that your door lines up well. Like, if you have an old door and you have to like lean into it and like really turn the deadbolt, you might want to fix that before you install any new locks. So thanks to Level Lock for sponsoring this video. Check out their link in the description below. Other home devices. There are, of course, plenty of third-party ones. I won't talk about any others in this video, but of course, if you wanted to get colored light bulbs or anything like that, you can add them all in the Google Home app. But Google-specific ones. Although Google doesn't make TVs, they do make the operating systems that you find on many TVs of ranging qualities. I've recently been using Sony TVs, and having Google TV at the core allows me to control the TV from my phone, my watch, or through the Google Assistant on basically any device out there. The Assistant essentially lives cross-platform and works to control the TV perfectly from any device. For example, I can change the volume, I can find movies within apps, I can search in a specific app and do different things like that. And if your TV doesn't have Google TV, you can easily get a Google TV Streamer, a new product that Google launched just this year to replace the old Chromecasts. This again ties into the ecosystem by making it easier for you to cast from a Chromebook or a Chrome browser on any laptop or from your phone, for example. And because it is made by Google, you have that minimal Google aesthetic with muted colors and a lot of googly features. Like, you can easily find the remote or answer your doorbell from the remote as well. Google TV is meant to learn from you and your trends, so because it's using the same Google account, it should be able to recommend interesting content to you. But this, however, is a weird quirk with Google. It seems to not always work, at least in my experience. And I find that the ads on the top of Google TV make it feel a lot more like a borrowed device, not like something I purchased and that would actually be mine. Additionally, sometimes the suggestions are a little bit unrelated for me. Like, for example, I get a lot of suggestions for like Sesame Street type stuff, even though that's very unrelated to anything I ever watch on my TV. But don't get me wrong, I love the concept of Google TV. Unfortunately, I would prefer to use something that is a little bit less ad filled, like maybe the Apple TV, for example. So is it worth to get a Google TV if you're in the Google ecosystem? The features are amazing, but I don't know, it depends on how much you rely on the content suggestions and if you are really bothered by those ads. Another aspect of home entertainment would be speakers, specifically smart speakers. And there are a lot of great ones that you can choose from within, like, Google's been making a lot of them. The ones that I've really been enjoying are the ones with the display. I find it better if you're looking up a recipe in the kitchen or something like that to have notes that you can then read. So I have two main ones that I use. One is the Google Nest Hub Gen 2, which I've been talking about earlier in this video for the Matter capabilities, allowing me to connect other smart home devices to that. And the other one is a Google Pixel tablet. Now, they're both essentially working the same way. I can ask them questions. I can control my entire smart home. I can ask it to find my phone. The whole ecosystem really ties together with the voice assistant in those hubs right there. And the tablet, of course, has the added benefit of, you can take it off the base and use it as a tablet. It's also only like $280-ish, I think. And considering you're getting a smart speaker and a tablet, it's definitely a compelling buy. And speaking of the voice assistant, even though Google's kind of migrating from Google Assistant to Gemini, ultimately they're basically doing the same thing. They're the core of the ecosystem, a true core. This, and of course your accounts, tie everything together. And because Google currently has, in my opinion, the best assistant out there, their ecosystem becomes more useful in your home, more capable of answering questions, of being helpful, and also controlling more and more devices. And because they are really in this position, everyone who's going to be trying to make any kind of software or smart home device plays nicely with Google. So that means that if you want to buy some Hue light bulbs, or you want to buy a smart coffee pot, a lot of those are going to integrate very nicely with the Google Home app, and again, kind of just build into the Google ecosystem. But it doesn't end there. Google's been adding a lot of other smart home devices like their Nest Learning Thermostat. And some of these start to get a little further away from the middle of the ecosystem. Like I would say if the ecosystem was like an octopus, the thermostat is like the end of one tentacle. Like you're really doing something that the thermostat won't be controlling your earbuds or your phone, and it really won't do too much. But at the end, it's something that your phone and your watch is going to be able to control. So if you want it to be a little bit warmer, rather than going downstairs and turning up your thermostat, you could just look at your watch and change it that way, or talk to your voice assistant and have it do that automatically. Another one is the Wi-Fi. Honestly, this one doesn't feel like it's really integral in the ecosystem, but Google does make some decent mesh Wi-Fi routers that, again, tie in the Google aesthetic. So unlike a lot of other routers that are like large black boxes with an antenna on them and flashing lights, these are not the Google ones. Google, as you can see, has like a very clean and minimal aesthetic, very few wires, very few lights. If there is a light, it's almost definitely going to be a white light on there, and it's, just very nice and muted. Makes it look a little bit better with the rest of your home. And like a lot of the other Google smart home products, these include Matter, Thread, and the Google Home app. So you can control your Wi-Fi and kind of monitor things from your phone. And kind of one last smart home device I want to call out is the Nest camera. This is kind of one that I think a lot of people don't really think about. They'll go and buy like a Ring camera, they'll buy some other camera, just whatever's on sale based on maybe even on Amazon. But ultimately, I think this makes a pretty big difference. If you are deep in the Google ecosystem, I think it makes sense to get Nest cameras because you can interact with the camera from your phone, your TV, your watch, your tablet, and it's a lot easier to kind of check in on that from any device in the Google ecosystem. So that's kind of a summary of the home aspect of this. The other devices in the Google ecosystem, one would be the Chromebook. Honestly, I'm deeply invested in the Google ecosystem, and I've used Chromebooks quite a bit in the past, but I haven't relied on one for daily tasks in a while. I find that they're amazing laptops for anybody who needs a home computer to like watch videos, pay bills, do schoolwork, or maybe just online shopping. But I can't use a Chromebook for my work. I can't edit videos on there. I can't really make thumbnails and manage my business on a Chromebook. So I don't use a Chromebook on a daily basis, and therefore don't feel qualified to really talk about them in this video. But ultimately, I do like Chromebooks a lot, and I think they're a great addition if you are in the ecosystem, but again, not necessary for that ecosystem. But the big picture of the Google ecosystem, the products all have a similar design aesthetic. They're clean, they're minimal, muted colors, and they blend into a lot of home styles. Look at the remote, the watch, the earbuds, a lot of circles, rounded edges, kind of circles and pill shapes, and Google works seamlessly with many other devices as well, with almost no features withheld, even if you use an iPhone. Clearly, there is a lot to like about the Google ecosystem, but it's not perfect. There are two main drawbacks that I find with this ecosystem. One is that sometimes they don't follow through. Google likes to launch and test so many new things, but they often abandon them or rename them, which can be confusing or even leave you feeling abandoned with a product that you invested in that then gets discontinued. For example, the old Stadia controller, the Nexus charging puck or dock, Project Soli, Google Glass, like the list goes on with these kind of great products when they came out and people really liked them, but for one reason or another, Google didn't think they sold well enough and ultimately just discontinued them. Another drawback is, as I mentioned with the TV, the ads. Ultimately, Google offers free stuff because they're an advertising platform. It's not free for them to run Google Search or YouTube or Gmail. Running ads is their business. And like I said, with the Google TV compared to an Apple TV, sometimes it feels like you are the product and not the customer. That's not always true. Like, I don't feel that way on the Pixel phones and the earbuds and the watch and many of the smart home devices, but occasionally you get reminded that Google is an ad business. And when you turn on your Google TV and you see a big ad across the top, it just doesn't feel like it's really your product. But overall, I am a huge fan of the Google ecosystem. I've tried the Amazon Echo ecosystem. I've tried Apple HomePods a lot, but I always come back to the Google ecosystem primarily because I really like the phones, I really like the watches, and I think the voice assistant is just superior to the competition. So let me know what you think about the Google ecosystem. If you enjoyed the video, which watching this long hopefully means you did, please consider subscribing and let me know what ecosystem you want me to test next.